Hey, View Church, welcome. We are here to celebrate 2020, and it's Sunday morning, and we are recapping the year. I think it's one of my favorite parts about the end of the year. I mean, Kara, Jesse.
Oh, totally. Like all the little specials on TV about what happened, the good things and the
bad things.
Yeah.
There's so many things, too, that you just forget happened. You're like, that happened 5 years ago, right? And you're like, oh, that was March. Just kidding.
Absolutely. One of my favorite ones is People Are Awesome. I don't know if you guys, I doubt you two follow the Instagram account, but they do a People Are Awesome every year. And it's just people doing awesome stuff, like extremes. You guys wouldn't like it, but regardless, hey, if you're on,
I just watched like the ET like
Yeah,
year in
I'm
review.
like, my People Are Awesome is like, I got out of bed today. Like, that's like People Are Awesome.
Time Magazine. I love those ones on the stands too.
Okay, you should have gotten these Christmas Eve or picked up one of your boxes. We are here to celebrate 2020. We're here to celebrate this year. I saw a tweet earlier, a couple days ago. It said, 2020 is one for the ages. And then the first comment says, or a dumpster fire.
I've never heard a truer statement, though.
But here's the reality. We're prepared to run you through 2020. Yeah. It was pretty amazing.
So much stuff happened.
It really was. Yeah. I mean, like when we were just going through it just a second ago, I could not even remember that these things happened this year, but it was so cool to be able to celebrate.
Well, I think 2020, different than other years, it's the shortest, fastest, longest, shortest year I've ever been a part of in my entire life.
It's literally like after having a baby and your days turn from like 12-hour days to 24-hour days that like you just literally cannot remember which day is which, but the year goes by so fast.
So here we hit January. Okay, January we came out of the gates making, especially in your life, a major move. Here we have View Church Snohomish. It's been going for what, like 10, 11 months?
Yeah.
And then we decide after Christmas Eve, hey, you know what? Let's pull back. Let's become one community. So the first thing we did in January.
January 1st was when we made the decision.
And then we met, one time in January. You're like trying to remember, like,
we met. January 5th was our last Sunday as View Church Snohomish.
And you know, really, like, people ask me this question. They ask you this question too. Like, you probably have different because you were setting up tear down every week. I have such fond memories of View Church Snohomish.
I do too.
Mourn the loss of it. I think it was I know it was the best decision for you and for our teams to come back as one. Yeah. But man, like that last Sunday, I think we were teaching on finances.
Yeah.
And we just began to just talk and tell stories.
Yeah. I think that was my favorite part. If anything, it set us up for what we were to experience in the coming months.
Absolutely.
Because for those of us that were a part of it, whether you're here or not, just investing in that spiritually, financially, physically, time-wise, whatever that looks like, we were able to sit and mourn the loss of something that we had invested time in and expectations that we had while also celebrating everything that came out of it. I mean, we saw I think it was like 50 people met Jesus at that church.
Time,
we had like 15 baptisms. We saw so much, and just the community that formed. There are still lifelong friendships.
It still is happening too.
Still, and it's just like you just have a connection because of what you've gone through in that time. And I just think it really did. It prepared us for what does it look like to mourn something and celebrate something at the same time.
Oh,
and that
is that 2020?
That's really true. Like, and I just remember like. I remember coming back as one. I remember that story that Sunday. I just remember like it being so special. But now hindsight, the Lord's provision in being able to have strength as we came back, being able to. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to meet in the school. Our hand would have been forced in just a handful of months.
Yeah. And it's so crazy. I do remember though my first Sunday back after set up teardown, 6 a.m. every single morning. I showed up here. I had gotten up at 4:30 in the morning on that morning. I fully worked out for an hour and literally was like, I don't know what to do. And I show up here ready to like set up set up a whole church. Yeah, I used to have to plan my outfits on what I could sweat in and let the sweat dry so I still looked good. And I showed up here and I just remember seeing Jeff walking around the back, just checking to see if all the papers were set up. And I was like, is this what you guys have been doing the last year?
She was like, looked at us like, you guys are bums.
And
like, you guys don't do anything.
They feed you to do nothing.
Yeah, basically.
But it was really fun.
It's just good. Lord's provision and that guidance. And then we jump into February. We don't know what's coming, you guys.
No,
January, more than that loss. What a beautiful moment. We're in a finance series. We jump into February. Yeah. We teach this, we teach one of my favorite messages of the year, not to toot my own horn, But one of my favorite ones, Great Grace.
Grace gives me what I don't deserve. Mercy, it holds back what I do deserve. It's a visual of the parting of the Red Sea. That on one side and on the other side, it allows you this path to be able to walk through, to receive God's love and his grace onto the other side. And we move on to that. I don't know what you've heard about God, but this is him. He is grace and he is mercy. And until we confess it, we will live in this bondage of our sin, in the bondage of our mistakes, and we'll think that's our identity. But the truth is your identity is only given to you by God. And his grace is great. Oh, his grace is great. If you've never gotten his grace, you don't know living. Legitimately, you don't know living. See, God's got more grace than your disgrace.
Great Grace was, I loved that message. And what's nice is you can always jump back on our YouTube and check that one out. I loved that message. I loved participating in that. But February is a big month.
It was.
For the ladies of our church.
Oh, it was so big. We had our sisterhood weekend. It was
Yep.
our second one. We decided to go mobile this year, and we went to Glacier Peak High School, packed the place out. It was so fun. We even brought in Andrew, one of my favorite people. And then she came and stayed Sunday morning, and she shared with our church a message from her heart, and it was a powerful weekend.
That message, just reviewing it this last week, I was like, what a prophetic word for our church.
To rage going, God, I actually don't know what to do here. I don't know how to change. I don't know how to stop acting like this. I don't know where this rage is coming from. And the Lord said to me, Andy, if you would just let me in to the darkest parts of your heart, those places that are bitter and angry, you have built walls around yourself and you won't let me in. But Psalm 91 says to us, he who dwells in the shelter of who? Not my own Most High. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will find rest under the shadow of the Almighty. There is a place we are to run. It is into the presence of God. He is our shelter and our shield, the one who guards our hearts and shows us how to heal in our darkest hour. But what we do is we put up barriers of control, of isolation, of anger, of rage, all of these things that we are trying to protect our hearts with when the Lord is like, can I get in there? Can I please come into those spaces and places and help to heal you and make you whole?
Yeah.
I love that sisterhood weekend. Andy, they're just pollinating. They're such dear friends of ours, and so thankful for their voice. What's some highlights from sisterhood weekend for you, Jesse?
I think my favorite part about sisterhood weekend, anytime we've done it, but specifically this year, there was such an empowering of women on the gifts in their life. And I think the first night, I just remember we did a call for just freedom. Who needed freedom? Freedom from depression, freedom from anxiety, freedom, healings. I remember watching, and it was like I was standing on the stage praying over prayer cards that women had turned in and just calling them out as almost 300 women are in this room praying. Yeah. And we just began to say, hey, if you feel comfortable, raise your hand. And it was like, as hands were going up, women were just swarming.
Oh, man.
From climbing over chairs to pray and lay hands on women. And I think that is one of my favorite visual memories of Sisterhood Weekend and the freedom that came in that weekend.
Totally. We have a picture of it in our Sisterhood Weekend slides, or all the pictures that we took. And that encapsulates that weekend is just women.
I remember I'm not supposed to be there, but Jeff and I were standing in the back, just like we're gonna take all this in. And I remember Allie Wakefield's prophetic word. And she just began, I get chills just thinking about it now. And I'm texting Jared like, oh my word, you gotta listen to this thing. You gotta jump. And he's like, I'm watching right now. Like, this is amazing. That was a great weekend. But it was a great month for us. That was Freedom Month.
Yeah.
Freedom Month. We raised over $12,000 for Rescue Freedom, a long-term partner of ours personally, but then also as a church, where they help people get out of sex slavery all around the world. And that's like, they're in our backyard, based out of Kirkland, and they're near and dear to our heart. Yeah,
I think Freedom Month for me was such a visual representation of God's provision and his faithfulness. I know there were so many people who stepped out for the very first time to do these fundraisers. I know myself included. I did it with
give that a
Kayla
little context
Watson.
a little bit. Like, what do we do for Freedom Month?
Yeah, so for Freedom Month, something that we're doing this upcoming February again. So if this is going to spark a little something in you, you have something to be a part of coming up here soon. But we just had the opportunity where we gave people resources to be able to start their own fundraisers. Rescue Freedom does an amazing job to equip you to do it. And I, with Kayla Watson, who is a part of our church community, we decided, hey, why don't we take something that we love and other people love and attach it to freedom and bring freedom to people. And so we partnered with 3 different local coffee shops in the area, and we're able to ask them, hey, would you be willing to donate your proceeds from one specific day? It was called Coffee for Freedom, and donate all of your proceeds. They let us set up booths and sell merch for Rescue Freedom. They let us spread.
I think the best thing about your story, though, is that you didn't even start out that big.
No.
It was like one coffee shop.
It was
and
one
then
brand
people
new
heard
coffee
about it.
shop.
heard about it and wanted to be a part of it.
It was
so cool.
It was amazing. And what is so cool about that too is, I mean, we thought it was just going to be small, and then it continued to grow. And then afterwards, both the coffee shops, they said, hey, we actually decided, instead of just sending our profits from the day, we actually want to send everything that we
Everything
brought
from the
in.
day.
And we were able to send almost, I think it was over $7,000 from the coffee
amazing.
shops, and then including all the stuff that Rescue Freedom got from selling merch on those days. So
And people went on runs for freedom.
Yep.
People did so many creative ideas. And we're coming back to that here. Baked cookies. Like, it was really great. But we launched groups after Sister Weekend. Groups started. We had over 200 plus people, 220 plus people in groups.
Phenomenal.
And my group started at that time. And again, we don't know what's less than a month away.
Yeah.
This lockdown, this pandemic
we were
was.
meeting at Starbucks. Like
I was meeting in Ixtapa with a group of guys, and all of a sudden, and my group became such a foundation for me in the midst of the pandemic, and so many people for that time. We had no idea what we were about to hit.
Yeah, Kara and I, we led a group together going through the book of Lent, or going through Lent, which in the book of Isaiah, which talk about Isaiah. It's a book of grief and of promise. And so it's like, this is what we're preparing our hearts to go through.
100%.
So now we're in March. Dun, dun, dun. Now we're in March. Okay. We started a series which actually really, like, hindsight, benefited us so much. Who are we? Like this is who we are. We're Foursquare. We're a part of this movement. What is that all about? And we preached. This was what we're about to watch just here in just a moment. This is Kara and I preaching together on end times. On is he returning? But we're preaching this together for the first time in the lockdown. For the first time, being completely pre-recorded. We did it. We did not know what we were doing. We were simultaneous, so we just set everything up. I remember Jesse and Jeff were on one side, Kara and I were in the middle, Ryan Schilling's on the side, and we just went dot, 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 like all over the place. And we did this, and go and check this clip out from that message.
Hey, we're continuing our series in who we are. This is a statement, man. This is who we are. And I don't know if you know, but we're a part of a movement called Foursquare. Foursquare was started in the early 1900s by Amy Semple McPherson. And I mean, it's just such a foundation in who we are, in who she really is, and how she led us, and what Foursquare is.
So for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about what the 4 pillars of our doctrine are of Foursquare. That Jesus is our Savior, Jesus is our baptizer, Jesus is our healer, and this week is our final week. Jesus is our soon and coming King.
It's Savior, baptize. I should quiz you, Bible College.
I got this. You want to know the colors? I'll give them to you.
Give me the verses too. That's the real challenge. And I love it. But it was the beginning of the end. I remember, Karen, we were in Vegas at the Pac-12 tournament with friends, watching it on vacation, and the team's calling us like, we're shut down. And I'm like, yeah, we're in Vegas. The same thing's happening. Our tournament we're watching got shut down, and we're like, what are we going to do? We did. Jeff preached. It was like church at home, and I guess some people were in the room, or no?
No, it was just our dream team who was there, who was there to serve in production, and I don't even think we did worship. I think it was just Jeff preaching.
It was one of the craziest things, because here we are, like, sitting,
we're sitting in Vegas,
poolside at our friend's house, but not knowing if we're going to be able to fly home. Even we didn't even know if we were supposed to get flights back. And then you guys are calling, making like decisions. Our team did such
we're on
incredible
vacation.
job.
Leave us alone.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, our church tries really hard. Our staff does. Hey, when you're on vacation, you die to the team. So we make decisions for it. And I'm like,
I even when the
maybe
world is
Kyler.
we should
Yeah,
call
but
them a
what
little
about,
bit.
yeah, what about when the world is turning into a dumpster fire?
But we're still so rookie and don't really know
No,
so much about
no.
coronavirus, and we're watching it spread.
Yeah.
And then we jump into Easter, April. I mean, we did a series called The Way.
I want to tell you today that this day of hope is for you. Because you're watching this, you're in the comfort of your home or your phone or your tablet, however you're watching it. And I guarantee you at some point of your life, you looked at it and thought, man, Jesus, it's not for me, it's for everybody else. I haven't lived a perfect life. I'm this, I'm that, or the other. No. Jesus came in a modest life. He came and died, and not like a king should. He rose from the grave in a miracle and showed up in the most unassuming way to love, to prove that he is for everyone. He is for the down and out. He is for men and women. He is for the poverty. He is for the wealthy. He is for the ones who have lived a life that they can't even tell anybody. He is for everyone. He's not for the church people. He's for humanity. I wonder if that's you today. You look at the story and you think to yourself, man, he's not for me. See, the Jesus story and his resurrection is proof that he is for you. And if you receive him today, you'll have life, not just a better earthly life, you'll have a better life for eternity.
I mean, this was also, really, we had some great series this year. As we went through this, we gathered for Easter, we gathered in that moment, but one of the biggest things we did around Easter in that moment is we had our first single, Palm of Your Hand.
Yeah, I think, we didn't actually physically gather. We gathered only online for Easter.
You're
and
right.
I remember grieving Easter in my house. And I think that's just something to acknowledge and to really realize is that it's okay to grieve a lot of the losses that we've had this year. And I remember sitting after Easter, because Easter for our family, it's not the fun like Easter egg hunt and the dresses and stuff. Like we're lucky if we get a picture of our family during Easter time together. It's fun. We love it. But I grieved the loss of seeing people's lives transformed. But we had to put our faith in the Lord that he was doing those things underneath the surface because he truly has been this entire time.
And it really was it was special, but it was so different.
It was eerie. We were
Yeah.
done with it. The day was done, and we're like, well.
Yeah, it was like 12 o'clock, and I remember being like, well, I guess I could go on a run.
Really, that's what it was. Yeah. And Palm of Your Hand became such an anthem for us during that time. That song became so timely. The moment we're going to watch is where Jared's leading it. It's the bridge. I think they call it that. The bridge is this moment. But it was like, I needed this anthem during this time.
Lord, I will trust you, and I will listen and obey. I will follow as you call me out on the ways. I will trust you, Lord, I will listen and obey, and I will follow, Lord, as you call me out on the way.
Yeah, I can't get enough of that. You can always check it out. That video. Jacob Torrey, our team, did a great job with that. Throwing that, being prepared, getting that done, and then recording that song together. And man, what a phenomenal moment that we really had. And then we jump into April. We did the Jesus class.
This is one of my favorite things because almost a year ago, Taylor Truce and I, who's a part of our community, phenomenal teacher, phenomenal writer, we sat down and we just felt like we needed to write this book. And this book sat unused on a PDF document for a year. And this all happened, and Kyle came in and said, hey, we gotta teach people. We gotta teach people Jesus. And we were like, hey, God put this on our heart.
We got this, yeah.
We've got this. And so God had prepared us for that moment. Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. Guys, Jesse and Taylor wrote a book. That's unbelievable. And we have it available in PDF form for everybody. We got to do more with it, but like that was one of my favorites. Even learning how to record online and that zooming, the learning curve. Oh my word.
The learning curve of the first Zoom. This is my favorite like blooper moment is we didn't realize there was a 5 or 6 minute delay. And so it's going and we're seeing it, but we're texting the team because Kyle's just sitting there and he's like, is it going? Is it going?
Are we live?
Are we live? Is it going? And we're like texting them, but we're like 5 minutes behind before they're getting our messages.
I don't know it, so everything's live.
No, everyone has those moments.
We all do.
Those like, hey, turn your mute off. You're muted.
That's exactly what it is. We're professionals now.
I saw a commercial the other day. It was like when you buy a house, you become your parents, and the first thing the guy's teaching, like these people, because they instantly become older, it was like you got to silence your cell phones, and the lady goes, my phone doesn't have silence, and he just goes, every phone has silence. But it's that moment, like I'm on these Zoom calls, and it's like silent. Like my Zoom doesn't have silence.
We only know as much as Google had taught us at that point.
Yes,
Oh, gosh.
absolutely.
Google was so key in this world in this time.
Yeah, so April, what a big month for our church. And then May, okay, you asked for it. It's something we've done pretty regularly throughout the years of our church. And we did this you asked for it moment that I really love with Richard Taylor, who's a mental health professional, written multiple books. We were able to have this conversation.
Here's the thought that I have with this, and that is that we've got to be able to embrace community, right? Yeah. And with community comes accountability. I think this is so important, though.
Let me say that again. You've got to embrace community. And with community, maybe this is why people don't, with community comes accountability.
Absolutely, because what happens is that when you're dealing with the problem by yourself, the reality is that you won't be able to overcome or overtake your personal issue if nobody else knows about it. Right. And so we've got to be real and open and honest about what we're dealing with and what we're going through. Yeah. Right. And so community does bring about accountability. And as the church, right, as the body, we have a responsibility to be here for one another in that. Right. Community to me looks like love and it looks like empathy. Two things that I think that when we're talking about the conversation of mental health are missed a lot, right? It's very easy for us to point the finger and say what we would or wouldn't go through, how we would or wouldn't handle a situation. But it's always amazing that same energy isn't kept once we find ourselves in said situation, right? And so in that, I think it's very important for us to take a step back and be mindful of how we are not only one, treating each other, but two, I think and how we approach it, right? Yep. And it doesn't have anything to do with like being politically correct or wanting to say the right thing. It has to do with being Christ-like.
100%.
But I think a lot of times when we talk about it, it's kind of like, oh, I got to be on pins and needles talking about mental health, or I can't say this because it's going to be offensive. The reality is that, this ain't even about the politics of the world. This is about the kingdom of heaven.
Come on, that's
and
so
with
good.
that being the case, we have got to take a Christ-like approach with it.
I loved that conversation that we were able to have. I loved even the bloopers from it. Like it was, we had to bring joy and hilarious moments to lockdown and quarantine.
We did a fancy Zoom dinner with friends. Yeah. I don't want to do that anymore.
No.
6 weeks later, so week 1, I was like, this is fun. Week 6, I'm like, let's be better. Let's follow Jesus. And can't thank you enough. Love you, church. You're the best.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mother's Day, Colossians. Colossians may have been my favorite series.
Really?
Anytime we can just sit and walk through a book of the Bible.
Yeah. It really is an amazing book. I mean, it talks so much about your identity.
Yes.
It talks about the church in Colossae was a new church, and instilling that in identity. And we felt like we were almost in that same place at that moment, like re-identifying what the church even looks like for us, because we were completely online at that point still, right? And
absolutely, and had
no
been
idea.
for a good amount of time. And it's our most watched series ever in the lifetime of our YouTube channel.
That's so crazy. I love it. That's such a good book.
I think what I love so much about Colossians is it was the beginning of us really putting like gas cooking with gas?
Yeah, we're cooking with gas
I
now.
always say,
Come on, yeah.
okay, we're cooking with bacon. Like,
We're
I don't know
cooking with
why
bacon.
that's mine.
I'll eat.
Yeah. But anyways, this is the first time with us really just like going for it with resourcing our church.
Yeah.
And Kara wrote a book. We were in a book writing year this year,
Yes,
but
you know.
Kara wrote just a book to help resource and really just birth out of your love from what you've learned from She Reads Truth, He Reads Truth, Kids Read Truth, to say, hey, how can I take this and really resource our team and our church to be able to walk through the entire book of Colossians?
Yeah, and you just said a moment ago when we were talking earlier that our second most like viewed page on our website is viewchurch.co/resources,
Yeah.
our resourcing page where we put mental health resources on there. We've done these devotionals, the Colossians
to
series,
read.
the Jesus class, things to read.
Racial reconciliation's on
Yeah,
there.
all
So
of
much
it.
truth is on there that we always want to resource our church. And then we jump into June, our Freedom series, summer break, which it felt like we were already on. So it's the longest
like,
summer
when did
break
it start?
ever.
When did it end? I
All
don't
of a sudden
know.
the kids just weren't in school. Like it was.
Yeah, we all thought it was bad when they were home from school, and then they didn't have anything to do.
But it was like this ray of light at the same time where we were able to make an announcement. And for the first time, we were able to gather again, RSVP only, but able to gather in some resemblance of a physical church again.
Yeah.
And it just gave like a glimmer of hope that I felt like we needed so much. But hey, Alpha.
Oh, my
Alpha launched in
goodness.
June.
So phenomenal.
That's I think that's one of the most life-changing things for so many of the families that participated in Alpha. Yes.
It's a crack up.
For us too, I've never done Alpha before. That was my first time being a part of that
Josie, who runs our discipleship, was the only one who had studied it. We all knew about it, and we just knew that we needed to do it, especially as everyone's at home and everyone's in quarantine. People are asking questions, like, let's do it. So she's like, when? And I was like, now. And she's like, all right, we're ready. We need to train our teams. And I was like, I think we might do that a little bit on the fly. So all of our leaders and everybody we had so many people. We had like 78 people in Alpha. Like, that was amazing to be a part of in those conversations.
Yeah, the best thing about Alpha is just the ability to ask questions. So you're in these small groups, you're learning about the basics of Christianity, but you're given the space and the opportunity to ask the hard questions like, why do bad things happen to people? Like, I'm mad about this. I want to understand. And there was just that safety and ability to just process. And then there was no like, okay, this is why, right after your question, but like, let's actually sit in this and process some of these feelings, and we'll watch these videos together and work it all out together.
Yeah, round 2 of Alpha just finished, and we'll launch it again here in the new year.
Yeah.
And Alpha is such a big deal. We get to July, summer reading series, something we traditionally do around the church as
I
well.
love summer reading
I really like
series.
it. We did food trucks.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
The summer of food.
Oh my gosh, I still have those 10 pounds on.
Los Tamales was.
Okay, let's rank them a little bit.
That was number one. I have driven to go eat at that food truck.
Yeah.
I don't know how many
I
times.
bought a
since
T-shirt.
then.
I'm so obsessed with them. I bought a T-shirt.
Just getting merch when you just need to buy something in 2020.
Kara goes, why did we spend so much at Los Tamales? I was like, I bought a shirt.
Oh my goodness, of course.
Well,
of
no,
course.
what's the other one that you got?
The cookie dough truck.
Cookie dough.
What was it called?
Sugar and Spoon.
Sugar and Spoon.
They-
Coming in clutch.
that
for
is
like a month
phenomenal.
straight, and they
Yeah.
were so amazing.
Yep.
And it was so fun to see people outside of our community just coming for the food truck, and then coming in and use the bathroom.
Yeah,
Hey, they're in church.
We had a mini donut truck that had. It was like mini donut Sundays.
Yeah. I ate that.
It's a bad day to be gluten free, but
Yeah, okay. I think I'm going Los Tamales. I think I'm with you. Los Tamales and then Sugar and Spoon. But
Yeah.
man, that's tough. But Los Tamales Sundays, I was so happy.
Oh gosh,
That was amazing. Okay, food truck. And we made a huge announcement in July.
Oh yes.
We sent Jeff and Kristen to go be the senior pastors of Lake Sam Church. And what a proud day for Kara and I as the pastors,
Absolutely.
and proud for the team. And I mean, that's our heart. Raise people up and send them out. Don't get close to anybody. I mean, we raise them up. We want to send them out. And we've done that over the lifespan of our church. We've been a part of different church plants, been a part of sending out senior pastors. And this is one of my all-time favorite days, sending them. I don't know if it was one of Jeff's favorite days, because he was like, really? I don't want to leave.
I think he didn't stop crying.
I don't want to
he
leave.
didn't stop crying.
And I just love them so much. I love what they're doing. We're into August, and we hire Jose to replace Jeff and join our staff. And I mean, I'll let you do this announcement.
one of my favorite things that we did was brought Mary Gunnels on because
yes.
she has game changed
Yes.
our social media, our online engagement. Honestly, if you have watched our Instagram and Facebook at all and wondered, hey, like, who's doing all these question of the weeks? Like, this is fun.
Who's over there
You just need
killing
to come
it?
give Mary Gunnels a hug because
To
she
Jose and Mary.
crushes it. So that's my favorite. That's my 2020 highlight. I told her that the other day, and she was like, "It's just because I'm sitting in front of you." I was like, "No, I tell
No,
everyone
legitimately
this."
it is. And I was like, she talks about it all the
The
time.
reality of 2020 is everyone had to become so tech savvy in
Yes.
every single role they were in. And so, moments like that where we get to, like, because of the faithfulness of our church and because of your guys' like faithfulness in tithing and just being a part of our church, we're able to bring on people who are gifted and talented in these areas with Jose and Mary.
Well, and then we get to September, we make another hire with a virtual executive who comes up once a month in Lee Coate, and
The best.
Lee is. We met him in January, and then he's able to join our team. And with the virtual world, it works. It works so well for us. And he taught a message like new normal, the upside, that I thought was so impactful to get. It's like when he teaches like dads here. Like I just love it so much.
sure.
And you're able to check this moment out.
This season will mark us one way or the other, right? And you're either going to lay on your mat and think about the past, right? You're going to think about all those things. Or you're going to get up and you're going to walk through the crowd. You're going to take your mat under your arm and you're going to walk into maybe an unknown but an adventurous future that God wants to mark in you, right? In the midst of your brokenness, whatever might be taking place. Parker Palmer, a great writer, said this: wholeness does not mean perfection. It means embracing brokenness as an integral part of your life. So the brokenness we've experienced together over these last few months is integral to what God wants to do in the new norm. Is it possible this season has lowered you to a place in front of Him that you've never been before? Is it possible that you've been lowered down so that now you can look into Jesus' eyes? Maybe because you need your sins forgiven. Maybe because you need to follow Him. Or maybe because the mat has just been your home for way too long. I love the way Paul says it in 2 Corinthians. You've probably heard this verse before when he says, anyone is in Christ, a new creation has come. Come on. The old has gone. The new is here.
I mean, he's one of my favorites. I meet with him weekly. You meet with him. Our staff meets with him. He leads meetings for us. And he just sees things in just such a strategy way and such a pastoral way that's so helpful for our team. And there's near and dear to our hearts. So thankful that he's on our team.
Okay, can we talk about one of the biggest things that happened with our church and with our kids in this facility?
Let's go. Yeah, everyone get it ready. Get it ready. View Learning Center. Shout out Allison Living Good.
Allison Living Good.
Get her a present, all the
seriously.
things.
Get her
Everything.
I mean, Kara and
Give her a
I,
hug.
with Lee, we just looked at each other one day and said, okay, the kids are going back to school. Who quits? Am I quitting or you quitting? Like, how are we going to manage kids online and processing this? And we had heard from Lee and their church that they were doing this, and it was an opportunity we sent to Allison. And in less than 30 days, her and you put this together
It was crazy.
and made this thing happen.
We're coming up with all of the different plans and financial things and all of those different things, the restrictions.
And getting approval
Getting
and
approvals. For
getting people to sign up.
I mean, the View Learning, we wanted to make sure that we met the needs of our community. And we couldn't meet all the needs of our community, but there's a specific need for working parents, for a couple subs, teachers in our area that didn't have jobs, to provide an opportunity for these kids to do their online schooling, but with someone to oversee them during the day.
Yeah, and I think what's best about, or the best part about this is it brought life to our building.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We as a staff, we're upstairs, all the kids are downstairs, but we have the opportunity to rotate through as their recess teachers, and they just bring so much life. Like, these kids they're hilarious, number one, but they just it just reminds you of why we're doing what we're doing, is because their lives are being impacted when they walk into school and they say, I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so happy to be here, and they see their friends and they get to have that experience.
2020 there's so many great things. I mean, we put out another single The God Who Fights
that
for Me.
one got me. Talk about Mary Gunnels again.
Again, like that song, if you haven't downloaded it or
So
seen, like
good.
it's so good. We're able to do that. We started the marriage course as well. I mean,
So
48
impactful.
people, 48 marriages were able to get better because of
Yeah.
this course. And I mean, again, shout out Josie Schilling. Like, just brought resources to our church to allow us to just get better. October, I love controversy, so Separation Church and Hate. I loved that. Go and check it out.
Church, will we lead the way in showing humanity dignity? Will we lead the way in ending racism? Will we lead the way in ending hatred towards other political parties? Man, I really hope so. But I want you to know that when we do this, I want you to know this line. Anytime you lead the way, you will be criticized for breaking down those walls. Anytime you lead the way, you'll be criticized for breaking down those walls.
I mean, and not only were we walking through like who we're going to vote for and all these kind of things, dun dun dun, I got COVID. I said I was sorry.
It didn't happen at church, FYI.
No.
It did not. No.
By God's grace.
By God's grace,
kept
it
it.
did not happen at church.
Yeah.
We get to November pandemic budget.
Yeah.
November pandemic budget, and we run car care.
Which I think car care was so cool again because we got to just tangible. I mean, throughout this whole thing, like us as a staff, sometimes there's times where we're flying blind. Like we're
Times.
hearing stories, like we're hearing about things, but we don't really get to see a lot of, the fruit of what's coming, of what God is doing because it's happening on the other side of a screen.
Yeah.
And so these moments where we do get to have these tangible acts of saying, hey, we get to serve these women with car care, 100 women coming through. They got
Teen
grocery
moms,
cards, they got gas cards, they got oil changes, they
All
got
because of your
treats.
generosity,
It's just
yeah.
like, and I think it wasn't traditionally what single mom car care has looked in the past, but this year we got to say, no, this is family car care for anyone who is in need.
Yep.
And we got to broaden our ability to serve people and do it in a phenomenal way that gives them the freedom to use what they need to.
Well, and then we jump into December. We're in the Advent series. We just finished it last weekend, or we just finished it a couple weeks ago. And what a great series this has been. What a great season in the life of our church.
Yeah.
Hey, that is a recap of 2020. Grab it out one more time. 2020 was different, but it was amazing to see all that God had done. Come on, one last time.